Thank you very much, Yusuf Farah, for bringing us that comprehensive report there that sets the pace for tonight's conversation. We're focusing on mental wellness and the focus on persons with disabilities in pastoralist communities. Joining us tonight is none other than the CEO of Northern Nomadic Disabled Persons Organization, NONDO, Fatma Mohamed. Thank you very much for making time, Fatma.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you very much. Now, that is what happened last week. But now, since we have you in person, maybe you can break it down to us how exactly, lack of inclusion and stigma, some of the issues that came out from that report prepared by Yusuf Farah, affect the mental wellness of persons with disabilities from the North.
Okay, maybe I can just start with how the organization came into being. The organization came into being almost 11 years ago, and it was started by person with disability who acquired disability, and there was no organization that was fighting for the rights of people with disability then. Yes. So as a result, this person, he acquired disability, he wasn't able to access the opportunities he was able to access earlier. He wasn't able to access the services he was accessing before he acquired disability. And as a result, there was a need. So he started this organization. The organization advocates for the rights, inclusion, and participation of persons with disabilities from pastoralist communities. At first, it was only the northern Kenya, but we saw the challenges were not just faced by the people from northern Kenya only. It was faced by people from pastoralist communities, and these are 12 counties we are working in. So these people facing unique challenges. The unique challenges are unique to them only, to the pastoralist communities. You can find that access to opportunities, access to education, these are the barrier. A barrier has been placed across these services and these opportunities by the society. These opportunities of education, children with disabilities from right when they were born are not accepted. They are made to feel like they are a reject.
Stigma is what you're saying.
Stigma, exactly, because of myths and misconceptions that are surrounding disability.
What myths? Maybe just unpack that for us. What myths and misconceptions are there, that boil down to stigma of children who are born with disabilities, or even those who acquire disabilities?
Okay, the myths are people feeling like when you have a child with disability, it's a punishment. To have a child with disability is a curse. To have a person with disability among you is a burden. Those things. You'll be very surprised that we're in the 21st century.
Yes.
And these things were there even before, way back, and they are still continuing. The society has internalized and is still continuing to be passed to generations and generations to come.
We need to correct that. Now, from where you sit as an organization, since you're working across these 12 counties, how then does this stigma, misrepresentation of persons with disabilities from these 12 counties affect their mental wellness?
Okay, when you are born and isolated and you don't have a strong support system, and you learned to adapt to the environment, which has a lot of barrier, then you go through these mental challenges. I mean, people, just people without disabilities go through these mental distresses. And when you have a disability, now it's added another mental distress because of the opportunities you cannot access as a person with disabilities. We persons with disabilities have a very expensive lifestyle to maintain. And if you don't get opportunities that are there, the education, first of all, which is the foundation, which is the only alternative, which is the only alternative for people with disability to succeed, then this means that for the rest of your life, you're going to be dependent on some people for the rest of your life, you're not going to maintain this expensive lifestyle. And as a result, you see many people with disabilities are adapting to some situations of probably maybe just reserving themselves, just not even asking for their rights, also being very aggressive. And when people are being very aggressive, people translate it in a negative way. They tend to judge people with disability negatively. They tend to think that people with disability are just difficult in nature. But even people without disability adapt differently in distress situations. And these people are not any different. People with disability are human beings, but the only thing which is different is the disability added to it, right?
Now, yes, you have worked as an organization for the last decade plus. In your role for advocacy, have you seen change, in a move to have persons with disability included at, the policy making level, at least at the counties, or is it still a missing gap?
Okay, let me just start with nationally. Nationally, we have very good policies. Our Constitution, Disability Act, and other policies.
Yes.
Now the problem is only the implementation. The implementation is really slow and is really painfully slow. At the county levels, the people who push for disability agenda are the representative of people with disability, the MCAs at the county level. Unfortunately, this year, it was way worse than other election years. Out of 47 counties, almost 22 counties did not have representation of people with disabilities. And even those counties that had, didn't have 2 as required by law. In Manyara, sadly, a position which was supposed to go to an MCA with disability was given to another person who didn't have disability. For us, as an organization, we had formed an MCA caucus. An MCA caucus in these 12 counties. These MCAs are the ones who are helping us to push for disability agendas because they are sitting in these county assemblies. They help us push for the policies, budgetary allocation for people with disability. But unfortunately, even for them, who really invested in this election, who really invested in the support for the political leadership, and then after all this, they are denied these positions. It's really unfortunate. And these are the things that are causing mental well-being for people with disability. Even somebody's dignity, a person who used to work and then now all of a sudden they don't have work. They're out of work. They had invested somewhere else, probably all their funds, and now they don't have funds. They are going to zero. And for this, they are losing their dignity. They are losing their self-esteem.
That is definitely going to make someone, angry, depressed, and such, and that all fall under mental health, wellness. Now that we find ourselves in this situation with the numbers that you have given, Madam Mohamed, Fatma Mohamed there. So then what do we do? What recommendations would you give as an organization, as a person within, that a particular community to have, inclusion of these persons with disabilities? What recommendations do you give going forward?
My recommendation is an organization also, because I represent my organization. As an organization, we will recommend that inclusion for people with disability, and inclusion. When we include people with disability, when we consider people with disability in everything that we do, then it will be easy for people with disability to participate. It will be easy for people with disability to access these opportunities which are there for them. But if we continue excluding them, there are many ways to exclude them. The negative attitudes, the environmental structures which are not allowing them, and so many other things. But if we include people with disability in decision-making processes, in all areas, in all aspects of life, then we'll be able to change a lot of things. I mean, just a quick one. at some point, everybody is going to acquire disability, probably. And this is when we get older. When we get older, we acquire all types of disability. It's difficult for us to walk. It's difficult for us to see, to hear, all of them at the same time. But nobody thinks about that. I mean, if you think about that, you will make comfortable spaces for everyone, and we'll be living in a better world. An
inclusive world.
An inclusive.
For abled and...
for people with disability and people without disability.
Yeah. I like what you have said, Fatma, Mohamed, there. That is quite, you know, sobering, that everyone in one way or another in their lifetime, if they at least get to the old age, we are candidates of disability one way or another. So we need to make a world a more hospitable place to be. Now, before I let you go and before we bring this to a close, how do then we tackle the issue of enculturation when it comes to, you know, stigmatizing those who are either acquire disability or are born with disability? From where you sit as we come to a close.
I say a lot of awareness creation. What's making parents of children with disability hide children with disability is because because of those stigma, right? So I would say if we create more awareness, if we bring out more role models, people with disabilities, to talk about disability, and if media, who is the greatest influencer, help us to give more stories on disability, successful stories on disability, not just the story of Woye or somebody just doing their ordinary things and you're thinking this person is extraordinary is an extraordinary person just because he was able to just do the things that he was supposed to do. I mean, to just change the narrative around disability, and media helping us. And thank you so much, KBC, because I had came to know that you are really encouraging inclusivity even in your everything.
Yes, so our infrastructure actually is tailored towards that. We're trying. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and I'm hoping that all the other medias will follow suit and they will be able to encourage stories of disability, encourage, help us. You know, as an organization alone, we cannot do it. But with other stakeholders together, we'll be able to achieve the inclusivity that we're looking for. We were not here 20 years ago or 30 years ago, we were not there. We were not here. Right now, I can say, at least people with disability know they are right.
Yes.
People with disability, the organizations of people with disability are coming up. So many of them are coming up. And at least we are able, the government is able to listen to us.
To listen. Yeah. So at least there's visibility. We were not here 30 decades ago, but now we have people who are speaking up for their rights. Well, that brings the conversation to a close, and I'm going to be joined by my colleague, JJ, there as we bring this to a close. Thank you very much for watching Sunday Express. But before we let you go, Madam Fatma Mohamed, World Cup iko KBC, would want to know which team are you going to be supporting? Tumesema masaa ni chache, mambo ni mengi, siku ni saba. Do you have a team for the World Cup?
Me, I will support the team that will win.
You're supporting the team. That is wise. That is wise. That's a wise move. Fatma Mohamed there, who is the CEO of Northern Nomadic Disabled Persons Organization there, saying that she's going to be supporting the team that is going to be winning. Well, we have 7 days and we will know by December. We will know by December who is going to be carrying the cup.
December 18th is actually the end of the entire episode of a World Cup. So from next weekend all the way up until the 18th, particularly us men, we are engaged.
And I like what you're saying. Oh, you're busy.
A little bit. We are not really available.
They'll be engaged to World Cup.
Because of a World Cup. But indeed, quite an informative conversation you're having tonight, and very important for that matter. These are the conversations we ought to be having every single time in terms of, making our people better in terms of information. But again, Karen reminds us to emphasize again, World Cup, Eco KBC. In 7 days, we'll be showing you the tournament.
I think I'll go with what Madam CEO said. I'll be supporting the winning team.
What a way to escape bets. Time for us to put a cap on Sunday Express. My name is John Jacob Curia.
And
have yourself a fantastic night.
Awesome. Sorry. And I am Regina. Manyara, have a blessed night. Viva Manchester United. No, don't forget that.